What is life? What is art? Is it worth it to live, suffer, and die for art? Is it worth it to use art as a means to emulate life? Do they both work in tandem, or are they completely separate entities? That is a question that many people have probably asked. Many artists, many, much like myself, maybe. Who knows? But at the end of the day, art comes in many forms, and in many ways, it's worth everything. It's worth it to sacrifice for art. It's worth it to live for it. It's worth it to pour all of your soul into the art form that you are pursuing. And nowhere have I seen that notion more than in novels, with writers, with people like Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, living their entire lives to create some of the greatest pieces of art humanity has ever seen. And I've been questioning myself with the same question. I've been asking the same question for a long time now. What is the greatest novel of all time? What is the best book I have ever read? And that answer has changed a lot over the last few years. Um, but for the longest time, it was Anna Karenina. This was at the top of my list for a year because I read this book and I was absolutely stunned. It was absolutely everything to me, the new standard I measured art. But then another book came along. Not that one. This one, The Brothers Karamazov. And for a bit of time, I did think Anna Karenina was still better than Brothers K. But the more that I thought about it, the better Brothers K got in my mind due to its even deeper characters and more compelling themes than Anna Karenina. Even still, Anna Karenina still held a very high spot. And then another book came along, The Count of Monte Cristo. And while I think it has the best plot of any book I've ever read, I don't think it has the same level of thematic brilliance as Brothers K. So Brothers K stood at the top for a while. And the hierarchy of the best books I had ever read kind of stood as something like this. Count of Monte Cristo, number three, Anna Karenina, number two, and number one, Brothers K. But then another book came along and completely shattered those ones, that being another Tolstoy novel, War and Peace. It has absolutely everything. Despite its large scope, it manages to focus on smaller level moments, smaller scale moments, and develop its characters in spite of its large focus on history, on war. And at the center of it is some of the most compelling themes, ideas, and characters ever put to literature. So for the longest time, or I guess the last few months, because I actually finished reading War and Peace not too long ago, this has been the hierarchy of the best books I have ever read. Number four, Count of Monte Cristo. Three, Anna Karenina. Two, Brothers K. And one, War and Peace. With Lonesome Dove at about number five, and Lord of the Rings at like number six. I don't know. I keep on going back and forth. But then, like, I kind of sat down and I debated, and these books kept changing. My rankings of them kept changing. There's one instance where Lonesome Dove was at number one, where War and Peace held its spot, where Anna K retook its spot, where Brothers Karamazov, where Count of Monte Cristo, they kept on changing. And then I realized each of these books have something that puts them above the rest. With War and Peace, it's immense scope that manages to achieve such grandeur, but at the same time achieve such smaller, more personal level stories that are fully developed and realized and used to the best of their ability to compel just an entrancing theme. And then Brothers K, some of the best character and thematic work I've ever seen in any novel. Anna Karenina, the way it captures humanity and existence on page so thoroughly and intriguing. And then Count of Monte Cristo with the best plot I have ever seen in any piece of media ever. All the plot points come together. Everything matters. Every detail, it is calculated. Lonesome Dove has the best emotions I've ever seen in a book, and Lord of the Rings the best journey. So all of these have the best of something in all of literature. And I keep on going back and forth, and I wanted to find a novel that manages to achieve the best of everything in literature where every aspect is the best it can possibly be, where there's no one aspect that's better than the rest, and it's all as close to perfection as possible. And for the longest time, that novel eluded me. And for the longest time, War and Peace was to me that novel because, again, this has an amazing journey, a calculated, detailed story, intriguing characters, themes, grandeur, epic scenes, everything. So for the longest time, it was War and Peace. And then, recently, I read another book. I read a book that has everything. I found that novel, that fated novel, that prophesized book. It has the grandeur and historical scale of War and Peace and Les Miserables. It has the thematic and ideal work of Brothers K and Dostoevsky, the humanism and just intriguing and vivid emulation of existence and humanity as Anna Karenina, the calculated, detailed, and ever expanding and ever just working plot as Count of Monte Cristo, the emotions of Lonesome Dove, and the journey of Lord of the Rings. It has all of that, and it has more. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I think it's probably the first book that ever made me cry. The first book that ever drew tears from my eyes, and I didn't ugly cry, but honestly, the more quiet and restrained cries are often the most powerful of them all. This book is no doubt the best book I've ever read because it has everything good about these books and more. And it's not a really well known book. I don't think anyone in the history of book critics or book rankings or any rankings in general have ever ranked this as their best book of all time. But I'm going to be the first, and I'm going to be the first to tell you that this is the best book ever written. I've read the top ranking books of all time, and a lot of them are great. I just mentioned a whole bunch of them. But this one is well acclaimed by whoever's read it. It's highly rated, no doubt, but it needs more praise than it's already getting. It needs to be showered with the praise it deserves, and I am going to be the one that answers that. The one that compels people to finally read it and give it the attention that it deserves, to finally allow it to break through and stand alongside War and Peace, Brothers K, Anna Karenina, and all the other great books I just mentioned. Which book is that? It's not as long as some of the books I just put up here, though it depends on the format you get it. Some translations and versions of this are over 900, but it's not as long as War and Peace, or Count of Monte Cristo, or Lonesome Dove, or Lord of the Rings, for that matter. But it doesn't need to be. It still achieves something at a level that I'm yet to see in any piece of art ever. It's not technically a classic if you view like classics as books made before the 20th century, but it deserves to be mentioned in the same reverence as such classics as the ones I've mentioned before. It has everything, like I said, multiple perspectives, historical scale, emotion, themes, love, life, death, betrayal, humanity, evil, violence, everything. And it wraps it all together. And it creates one of the most complete, one of the most authentic, and just one of the greatest pieces, if not the greatest piece of art humanity has ever produced, at least in my opinion, in my eyes. That is so, there's so much I have to say, but I'm not going to say it all because I honestly can't do it. I cannot do it justice in words. I cannot just sit here and tell you that's the greatest book of all time without compelling you guys to read it. Because that is honestly the only way you can do it justice, by reading it yourselves. Don't just sit here and listen to me talk about it. Go out and read it. Go out, seek this story out. Before I actually get into why, I want to give you a background behind its author. Its author was a man that got into so much shit for what he wrote. He spoke the truth. He didn't want to mask his stories. He didn't want to hide his story. He didn't want his stories to be watered down by propaganda, by the state, by what people want his state to be viewed as. He doesn't glorify the events pictured in this book, nor does he sugarcoat it. It's messy, violent. It depicts war as disgusting and hideous. And more so than War and Peace, I think it really, really tells us how terrible of a thing war is. It is one of the most thematically rich books I have ever read, one of the most character rich. Its story is ever expanding, calculated, detailed, and intriguing, and every aspect of it is as perfect as can be. No book is perfect, like I said before. This one's slow at some points, but honestly, outside of that, I cannot think of a single thing wrong with it. You're probably sitting here waiting for me to reveal which book it is, and I will. Many people describe this as a Soviet equivalent of War and Peace, and that's what compelled me to read it. I thought it couldn't possibly be as good as War and Peace, but if it's even remotely similar, it's probably going to be good. I was completely wrong. This book, despite not being as long, is even better than War and Peace because it's more emotionally impactful, thematically rich, and it feels more true to life than anything I have ever read, even Anna Karenina. Enough rambling. That book is Vasily Grossman's Life and Fate. I went searching for this book. I was intrigued by how people described it, calling it Soviet War and Peace, a book that was denied, hidden, silenced for 20 years before its publication. I need water. Damn it. Never mind. Just continue with this. Let's just continue with this. Anyways, Life and Fates. Vasily Grossman finished this book in 1960, and he, above all else, wanted to show the truth behind the Battle of Stalingrad. And this is actually like book three in what is apparently like a Stalingrad trilogy, but apparently the previous two books, while really good, aren't as good as this one. And honestly, I don't think anything could be as good as this because holy shit. This book does not let up. It is relentless. It does not sugarcoat. It is violent. It is harrowing, and it above all else depicts the Battle of Stalingrad in a way that feels so true to life, so unbiased. It doesn't shroud nor justify the war, nor glorify it. War and Peace had a bit of romanticizing, yes, but this one, it shows war for how hideous and disgusting it truly is. And amidst it all are some of the most intriguing, well written characters I have ever seen in a book. And its ideas of similar themes as War and Peace, but I think it delivers them even better. Themes of violence, of war, of humanity amidst it all. and I couldn't get this book out of my head when I finished it, and it took me some time to realize that this was the best book I have ever read. Like, I thought maybe War and Peace would still be better even after I finished it, but then I looked back and I realized it's even more richer, authentic, and unflinching as that one. Maybe War and Peace is more epic, who knows? But it takes such a turbulent time in Russia's history, and it shows us the truth behind it, and it doesn't lie, it just gives you the truth. The characters feel real. Everything that happens in this feels real, which is obvious, which is to be expected since the author of this book was there to witness it all. I really couldn't muster up a single. No, I cannot muster a just not justifiable. I cannot muster a single point of praise that is enough to prove why this is the best book ever written. I just need to compel you guys to read it, and that's what this video is for. I'm not writing a big essay on why this is the greatest book of all time. I just want you guys to go seek it out, find it, and give it the praise it deserves, because it belongs at the top of literature. It belongs up here with these books, if not above them. It is the greatest book ever written, and I will stand by that until I find another book that can top it, which I doubt will ever happen. So yeah, that's what the video is for. I'm not going deep on the book. I'm just telling you guys, go read it. Even if you don't read Life and Fate. It will change your life and fate. Goodbye.